Inravio.com.
Hello again, everybody. This is Joe Larson, and you're watching the 5-Off, 5-On Racing Show. Welcome to another fun night of race talk. We have some things to go over, some new tracks being built across the country. Pocono rained out yesterday, ran today, a nice sunshiny day with empty grandstands. Well, we got a lot to talk about, and the Lindenhurst Fire Department held their annual tournament this past Saturday at the Fireman's Memorial Park in Lindenhurst. We'll be talking about that as well. So welcome. Hope everybody had a good week, good weekend. And this weather is just wreaking havoc with racing all over the place with rainouts and rain delays and rain shortened races. And you can't beat Mother Nature. What they're going to do, if it's going to rain, it's going to rain. And I was planning on going to Pocono for the weekend and catch the Xfinity race. First time the Xfinity Series will be racing at the Pocono International Raceway. And of course, stay for the Sprint Cup Series race on Sunday. And you know, I woke up and said, I'm not going. I wasn't going to chance the rain. And as it turned out, the Xfinity race on Saturday was rain shortened. And the Sunday event, well, they fought it and waited. And finally, they pulled the plug early afternoon and decided they'd run on Monday, which is, I believe, is in the entry blank that in the event of inclement weather, it'll be run the next day, and the day after that, and the day after that if need be. And I can remember a race up in Loudon, up the New Hampshire Motor Speedway, where it rained and it rained and it rained and it rained, and it was by the time they could have run, it was the middle of the week, and they had to get ready to go to the next event, and they ran that race, believe it or not, the Friday after Thanksgiving. There was not a soul in the grandstand, but that's okay because those tickets are already paid for. You don't get your money back because they ran the event. But anyway, we'll talk about Pocono later on today. Speaking, like I said, new racetracks. According to NASCAR Home Tracks, the Alaska Raceway Park is set to open this year, and NASCAR will be a banner for this racetrack, another NASCAR track. Located in Alaska, the track originally opened in 1964 as a dragway and was called Polar Dragway. It didn't work out after a few years and it sat dormant. Now the Alaska Raceway will join Virginia's Dominion Raceway, Wisconsin's Spring Lake Speedway, and Eastbound Speedway in Canada's Newfoundland as new tracks in 2016 to the NASCAR Weekly All-American Series banner. Now, where racetracks are closing left and right, it's a breath of fresh air to hear of new racetracks and new venues going into the NASCAR Weekly All-American Series. It was kind of getting a little depressing that this track closed, that track closed, this is sold, now it's condos, this track is closed, and the property is just dormant. And it's sad to see that. I know I've said this on the show before, years ago, just right here on Long Island, the hotbed of racing, the late Big Bob O'Rourke we used to say you could race 7 nights a week on Long Island, not leave the island. There was so many racetracks on Long Island. There were some tracks that ran 2 nights, who ran Wednesday and Sunday, who ran Friday, and who ran Saturday, who ran Thursday. It was racing every night on Long Island. And the thing was back then, these competitors could make a living racing, and they did. It's hard to do that today in the weekly series. The cost of the cars has gone up like this, where the purses have barely gone up at all. In fact, some divisions and some of the local tracks in the Weekly American Series are racing for less money than they ran 10 years ago. Go figure. And the reason for that is sponsorship. This money comes from sponsors. That's where the purse money sometimes comes from. Yeah, the tracks have a certain amount that they have to pay into a purse. That purse's structure is based on the track. The track can pay anything they want, but they have to publish the purse. They have to notify NASCAR what it is, and they have to have, in most cases, the money has to be basically in the bank prior to the event so that they could pay the teams. And there were tracks that paid in cash. I don't believe there are any left that still pay cash. I don't know the way the tax structures work, and you want to keep the taxman off your back, so you have a paper trail, paying with a check. You brought in X, you paid out Y, Z's what's left, that's your profit after expenses. So, a breath of fresh air, some new tracks opening in the NASCAR Weekly All-American Series, and they stretch from the East Coast all the way to Alaska. Imagine racing in Alaska. I would like to just go there once. Go to Alaska once. And it's in the summertime, so it doesn't get dark. It's nice, You can't race there in the wintertime because the sun never rises in the wintertime. But I'll tell you what, I looked at some pictures, and I wish I would have, I found this out on the way here. Just the background of the mountains and the snow caps, and it's a beautiful place. And from what I understand, that the track weathered very well, and it's in good shape. So, but speaking of a track that weathered very well is Southampton Speedway in Southampton, Virginia, not Southampton, Long Island, where some people had thought. They plan to reopen this season. The track is the track is where NASCAR Sprint Cup Series star Denny Hamlin cut his teeth driving late models. Carrie Denny, a race fan who went to that racetrack as a little girl, was sad to see that the place was sitting dormant, and she signed an agreement to lease the facility and race in 2016. Rules, personnel, participants, divisions, all of that stuff is still in the planning stages, with plans to run 10 different divisions at this facility, and due in part with Langley Speedway in Hampton, Virginia, right up the road, currently closed over a land dispute, which, it's a matter of, who doesn't want the track, who does, and now there's no racing. But they needed to fill a void, and this track, Carrie Denny, a fan of racing, stepped forward and is going to take it over. The 4/10 mile track needs only landscaping and paint to open up, and of course get everything in order for insurances and whatnot. And the track surface has weathered very well. It's in good shape. Now, you know what? You look at some of these old racetracks, and I can remember about 10, 15 years ago, maybe, I'm getting old, 20 years ago, my UPS guy was telling me about the track in Deer Park. And I knew there was a track in Deer Park, and I thought it was gone. So he shows me where it is, and I go walking back through the woods, and wow, there it was. The pavement was fine. They haven't raced there at that point. They hadn't raced there since the 50s. And the infield had all trees in it, and where the bleachers used to be was all trees, but the racetrack itself was fine. Now, I think that's due in part to all the oils and the waters and the coolants and the gear oil. When cars blow up and crash, just nothing's going to grow there. And because of all the oils, I think that the track, when the cold, was able to expand right and not crack, and it was in good shape. It was a shame that there was another track that closed up here on Long Island. But back in the day, it was a good place to play. So anyway, Denny is currently, like I said, will be leasing the facility. She has the first right of refusal, exclusive rights to purchase the property and take over the speedway on both ends as owner and promoter. So right now she's the promoter, and I wish them well because, like I said, there's not too many tracks opening up. The stuff that's going on at Rockingham, back and forth, and the bidding, and the people who ended up buying it with creditors anyway, which I still don't understand. But then again, I don't understand a lot of things. But that's okay. That's okay. But it should be good. It should be good. And like I said, it's good to see another racetrack coming on board. Because, I was around when Freeport Stadium closed here on Long Island. I was, I don't know, what was I, maybe 30 years old, not even maybe 25. And I was like, wow, I guess, they're going to build a store there, which they ended up doing. And then ISA Speedway. That place was on the map. The Sprint Cup Series back in the day, when they ran that circuit, the Grand National cars, as they were called then, came to ISLAP, as Richard Petty would call it, ISLAP. yeah, we're going to run Islip this week. And when Chris Economaki from ABC Sports would interview him, and, how do you like him? Well, we like coming to Islip, But that's how they said it back then. And imagine it's a fifth of a mile racetrack with short straightaways, high banks, and you have 30 cars, on this racetrack. Sprint Cup Series cars, Grand National cars racing there. And when that place closed, I couldn't even go to the last night. I couldn't even go. And I'm kind of glad I didn't. Because, you get emotional over these things. I grew up at that place. I remember going there with my grandfather when I was a kid, sitting in turn 4 watching the races. And here's a place that I cut my teeth at, did my first laps at Islip Speedway. And it was sad to see that go and to see the land become what it became. And a lot of people say it became a cookie factory. It became a whole slew of industrial buildings back then. So unfortunately, it was gone. And thank God for guys like Marty Himes and the Himes Museum of Nostalgia for taking care of some of that stuff, getting some of the pavement, putting it in the museum. The sign that was on Sunrise Highway, it was like an arrow that's Islip Speedway, this down this road. And he was able to get that sign and add it to his museum. And, at least we have the memories. At least we have the memories. So it's all good. Anyway, NASCAR, with the holiday last week, they didn't have their their weekly competition meeting that they usually had on Tuesdays. They had it on Wednesday. And last Wednesday, NASCAR lowered the gavel on a couple of guys, or more than a couple. Last Wednesday, NASCAR suspended 3 Sprint Cup Series teams and with issuing them P3 penalties following the Coca-Cola 600 at the Charlotte Motor Speedway. The 16 driven by Greg Biffle, the 41 driven by Kurt Busch, and the 47 driven by A.J. Allmendinger. Random Bucknett, the crew chief for Allmendinger, and Tony Gibson, crew chief for Busch, were both suspended for one event and fined $20,000 for stuff that NASCAR felt that wasn't right. Biffle's team was hit the hardest of the 3 due to multiple infractions with fender wells and heights and all kinds of good stuff. And the crew chief, Brian Patty, was suspended for 2 events and fined $50,000. Plus, the driver lost 15 championship points, and the owner was docked 15 championship points as well. Now, you're thinking maybe these penalties are heavy. Not knowing what these guys make, it's all relative. If you make, $500 a week and you get fined $500, that might make a difference to you. But when you're making a couple of $100,000, which some of these crew chiefs make, if not more, so if somebody took 25% of your income away, it might hurt a little bit. But I don't think that individual is going home to mama and saying, I need a check for $20,000, I got to pay my NASCAR. I don't think that's happening. I think the team ends up paying it. I'm not sure, don't quote me on that, but I'm thinking that's how that works, because these teams have budgets for this stuff. They know they're going to push the envelope, and you got to push the envelope. That's your job as a crew chief. And it's the NASCAR official's job to tighten that envelope and keep you going. When we come back, we'll talk about the NASCAR Whelen Modified Tour, which was at the Stafford Motor Speedway up in Connecticut, when we come back. Good update. Which show, yours? Oh, okay. What time? 6:30. Did you rush leave? Okay.
And we do have a real set together.
What's up, guys? We're Scared No Fair, and we're here with Inravio. If they catch you at a show with one of these bracelets, you will win $100. That's
That's a lot of money.
So get a bracelet.
Do whatever it takes to get that. Hit him up online.
Village Music Shop of Mastic. 1-800-HEY-DUDE, your full-service store with personalized attention, school band instrument rentals and sales, music instruction on all instruments for all styles and age groups, for guitars, drums, amplifiers, PA systems, and accessories. It's Village Music Shop, 1495 Montauk Highway in Mastic. Call 1-800-HEY-DUDE or go to villagemusicshop.com.
Welcome back, everybody. We're back. So some of you might never left. So anyway, it's all good. The NASCAR Wheel and Modified Tour is at the Stafford Motor Speedway for their annual race, the Memorial Week there. Doug Hobie started the pole, took down the win there, finishing first, followed by Jimmy Blewett, then Donnie Lear in third, Eric Goodale fourth, Justin Bonsignore was fifth, Rowan Pennick sixth, Ronnie Silk was seventh, Bobby Santos, 8th. Brendan Bach, 9th. And Max Zeckham rounded out the top 10. Stafford Motor Speedway, you know, it's when you look at the tour, you look at some of the names, and a lot of these names have been around a little bit. A lot of them, you know, a couple of them are brand new, like Max Zeckham, Brendan Bach, Eric Goodale, although he's been around for a little bit. But there's some of these guys, you know, they've become the new guard. You know, when you look back at some of the guys that aren't there anymore. Stefanik, Jeff Fuller, Mike Stefanik, Jeff Fuller. You know, guys like that, guys who are around for a long time, and, you know, whatever they're doing, whether they're stepping away, they're getting down, getting into other things, but it's like a changing of the guard on the racing side. Reggie Ruggiero, you know, another one that, you know, we used to watch race back in the day. You know, some of these guys are fading away now. I see in social media that TC, Ted Christopher, doesn't look like he's going to be around on the tour hardly at all. And that's surprising, and, you know, because I don't understand why a guy like Ted Christopher, who has championships, multiple victories, he's won in just about everything he's raced, and he's raced just about everything. And to not see Ted Christopher battling for the win, not to be in the top 10 even, or not even to show up and attempt. Now, I spoke to Ted Christopher last year at the New London Waterford Speed Bowl when he had chose not to go to a tour race in Monadnock up in New Hampshire because he was going to concentrate on the weekly points. Now, I thought about that, and I was like, wow. And I wonder why a guy, again, with his talent, can't land a ride with a team looking for a driver. Now, there's some teams out there that let's face it, there's drivers and there are passengers. I know I stole that from some TV commercial, but some of these drivers just don't have what it takes. Some of these drivers that are still in the NASCAR Wheel and Modified Tour 5 years ago would have been the go-home cars every week. You know, back when we were sending sometimes more cars home than that was starting a race. Coming to Long Island, 60, 65 cars to start 28 would show up at Riverhead Raceway back in the day. Going to the Spring Sizzler at Stafford, there'd be 50 cars, you know, starting 32. Thompson, there'd be 50-plus cars there as well for the Icebreaker in the World Series, and starting 30 or whatever it was back then. And the difference between the pole, the fastest guy, and the last qualified guy before provisionals was around 0.3 of a second. There's people that they're 2-3 seconds off the pace, you know, and I got to look at that. I got to sit back and say, NASCAR, what are we doing? And this is why other series have flourished. The Valenti Modified Series, the ROC Series, all these series that developed with, where did those cars and drivers come from? They came from the NASCAR Whelen Modified Tour because, some of these teams were tired of being the go-home cars, and maybe they thought they'd go to a less competitive series or a less costly series, because NASCAR all of a sudden started treating the tour teams like they were Sprint Cup, Xfinity teams, or Camping World Truck Series teams. Rule changes between races. Get this, get that, put this on. You can't use this, you got to use this. The spec engine. I mean, they took a series that was flourishing, that was packed with teams, packed with people, and they did something to it that I don't know if they're going to recover. I just don't know if they're going to recover. And when you look at this series and you look at some of the names that are no longer involved like they were, like the names I mentioned before, did the time come to them? Is it their time to say, you know what, enough's enough? Let these young guys get it. Or did they move on to other things? Some did, some didn't. But when you look at the teams that are out there racing today, and I don't take anything away from any of them, and I take a guy like a Wade Cole, who's old school. He's the last of the old school guys bringing 2 cars every event, every week. And is he competitive? Is he running in the top 5? No. Is he running in the top 10? No. But you know what? He's running every week, and he's not the slowest car on the track, and he's competitive. What a team like that lacks is maybe a good sponsor. Or maybe Wade's doing it right. Maybe Wade Cole's doing it the way it's intended to be. Let me just go out and have a good time. It's like my golf game. I play golf regularly. If you would ask me if I was good, I would ask you, what's your definition of good? Am I a subpar golfer? Absolutely not. Can I shoot in below 100? Yeah, I can. But some days it's over 100. Some days it's well over 100. But my thing is, I went out with my buddies, I went out with my friends, I went out with my coworkers and had a good time. Because that's why I play golf, to have a good time. And that's why a guy like Wade Cole races. He goes out to have a good time. He's been doing it forever. Is he going to try to compete with the Doug Cobies and the money that team has, or Jimmy Blewett and the money that team has, or Donnie Leah and the money? He's not going to compete with those guys. Some of these guys you go to their shops, there's cars lined up on jack stands. Engines lined up on engine stands. Trannies, rear ends on shelves. You know, Wade doesn't have that. A lot of these teams don't have that. You know, and I look at, you know, and again, I'm not picking on anybody, but I look at a Melissa Fifield, who is usually one of the slowest teams in time trials, but she's out there and she's trying to make it happen. She's not finishing last every week, and she's not really wrecking that much either. But when you look at that, I know what NASCAR is trying to do. They have a female. They have a female that's in the series. When Renee Dupree stopped racing that series and started doing a little traveling here, a little traveling there, and then ultimately stopped racing, picking and choosing along the way, the girl was missing. The female factor was missing. The female factor brings in fans. The female factor sometimes brings in sponsorships. And that's what it's all about. And that took me a little while to understand, you know, why do they let that happen? Why does NASCAR do stuff like that? And, you know, and you're like, wow. You know, wow. But I don't know. But anyway, a lot of these teams, I don't know, they wouldn't be making the shows 5, 6, 7 years ago. You know, and last year was, if you showed up, you made the show. They're not sending home too many people anymore. A couple here, a couple there. Some nights you have a full field. And I know the series director, Jimmy Wilson, I know when he looks at the entry blank and it's going to start 30, and he looks at the listing and he sees 28, he gets on the phone. I know that. You know, he's on the phone. Hey, come. We need you. We need the car. We need the car. And, you know, is that the right thing to do too? I don't know. It's his job to make sure there's a series to protect his job. But I was never really a fan of the way the current regime does things in the series, in the NASCAR Whelen Modified Tour. But then again, it's their series to run, and it's their series to run their way. And I respect that. And, you know, if somebody came into my business, told me how to run it, I'd laugh at them. You know, I've been, you know, in business most of my life. And I'm not saying I'm the best businessman anywhere, but I know what works for me and for what I do. And I guess that's what they need to do. And the one thing I could not be is a puppet. I'm not a puppet. And NASCAR doesn't like that. NASCAR likes good little wooden soldiers that, and don't speak until they're spoken to, and don't give input unless you're asked. And usually that's behind closed doors. I'll stop at that. Anyway, the Valente Modified Series was at the Seekonk Speedway in Seekonk, Mass. for 100 lapper. Anthony Nocella was the victor there, with John McKennedy second and Rich Savory third. And the funny thing about those three guys, they were former NASCAR Wheel and Modified Tour regulars. Rich Savory had some nice equipment on the NASCAR Wheel and Modified Tour. And, when you look at and talk to, what I do anyway, talk to some of these teams, and I say, what's the deal there? Why are you doing these other series, and why are you traveling so much? And they all have the same common denominator for an answer, and they said money. In the Valente Modified Racing Series, and I'll go by the numbers that I had previously. I don't know what their numbers are now. The MRS, the Valente Modified Racing Series, the driver's license is like $100. The crew license is $10. Now let's go to the NASCAR Wheel Modified Tour. The driver's license is just about $400, where the crew license is $350. You got to pit, so you have to have the fire suits, the helmets, and the shoes, and the gloves, and all of that stuff that goes with, as if you were driving the race car on the Modified Tour, the NASCAR Tour. On the Valente Series, they don't do pit stops. They don't do pit stops, so you don't need all of that safety equipment for your crew. I mean, do you really? I mean, you have a 100 lapper. Do you really need to have 10 tires for a 100 lapper? The Valente Series, you're limited to how many tires you could buy per event. And I believe it's 2. You're allowed 4 for the first race, then it's 2 after that, unless they're cut or you got a real bent up wheel and the tire's shredded. Cost. At, $800, $900 for a set of tires, and you go to the NASCAR Wheel and Modified Tour, and then at the drivers, all right, today's race is 10 tires. Think of it, that's 2.5 sets. Whereas you go to the Valente Series, you don't have that. You don't have that. So, I think NASCAR shot itself in the foot, trying to make it better. I think they took some steps backwards. Just my opinion. And, there used to be some good race, the 300 lapper at Thompson. What an event that was. It's not done anymore. There's venues up here, at least in the Northeast, that I don't understand why they're not racing them, the NASCAR tracks. Why are they not going to Lee up in New Hampshire? Why are they not going there? There's tracks upstate that are NASCAR sanctioned. Why are they not going to those racetracks? Why are they not going to Martinsville, which was the hotbed of modified racing back in the day? The modified race at Martinsville was a big draw back in the day. Lots of cars from all over the place. They don't go there anymore. No, they're going to Bristol. Okay, they're going to Bristol, and that's okay. And they run a midweek show at Bristol. But, and that's good. They got some TV time and TV coverage. But there's so many venues that the tour is not at anymore. And you got to ask yourself why. If you're involved with the NASCAR Wheel and Modified Tour, you got to ask yourself, why are they not going to these places? And, Stafford, Thompson, they're the backbone of that series. And I can remember when we used to run 5 races at Thompson, 4 at Stafford, 9 races at those 2 racetracks. 3 here in Long Island at Riverhead. Waterford had a couple, New Hampshire had a couple. Richmond, what to Richmond? It was an awesome place to race modifieds. Awesome place to race modifieds. Down at Wall, the modifieds put in an awesome show at the Wall Speedway down in Wall Township, New Jersey. Racing 25, 26, 30 races in a season for the modifieds. It's now half of that. Now think about this. You're a car owner. You build a race car. You didn't build it to sit on jack stands in your shop or your garage. You built these cars to race them. Oh, we're off for 3 weeks. Oh, let's see. Oh, XYZ Speedway's having a 100 lapper. Let's go. And then you go to these things and say, wow, look at that. It didn't cost me all this money. It's a one-day show. Whereas the tour races sometimes 2 or 3 days, unless you go to New Hampshire, and it could be 4. And go to Bristol, it's a day to get there and a day to get back. And they go to these shows, they open the pits late morning, tech, practice, qualifying race, you're out of there. And these guys say, wow, that must be crazy. Yeah, the payoff's a little bit less, but the cost is a lot less. And cost is a big factor in racing. We all know it. Anybody who's ever been involved with racing knows it costs a lot of money to go racing. It costs a lot of money. And all these crews and all these people that help you, you pay them with food. They even pay, a lot of these guys pay their own way in. They pay for their own, they bring their own campers and motorhomes and tents to be part of the team. They just want to be a part of something. And I really think that NASCAR needs to take a look at that, see what's going on. Bring the NASCAR Wheel and Modified Tour back to where it was 10 years ago. Bring it back where the owners had a say. And I don't mean they made the rules, but they could go to the leadership and talk like businessmen. Businessmen. This is what we need. This is what we're looking for. They'd get some, they get part of others, and some of the stuff we'd have to take a look at. But the guys who were spending, when guys are spending hundreds and hundreds of thousands of dollars to race a modified tour car in NASCAR, shouldn't they have a little bit of input? Just a little bit? I don't know. Just something to think about. Anyway, when we come back, we're going to have the results from the Bethel Motor Speedway, upstate New York, when we come back.
Inravio.com wants you. Inravio provides the best in TV, film, post-production, and so much more. And we're growing. Right now, we're looking for a team of pros that can join us. So what are you waiting for? We need show hosts, production crew, marketing gurus, sales experts, audio engineers, lighting, visual effects, and camera crews. We want you. Go to Inravio.com/join the team.
Hey, I'm Raul Panther.
And I'm Commander B. Hawkins.
And I'm Rich Weller. We're some of the proto men. If we see you without this bracelet, you get punched in the But if you have this bracelet from Inravio.com, you can win $100.
Put one of these on, or else.
The world of advertising has changed. Radio, TV, and newspaper revenues have declined drastically. Why? Because businesses have realized that advertising return on investment isn't what it used to be. So what can we do about it? Well, that's easy. Advertise online. Own a local restaurant, real estate agency, or even a national retail chain? Whatever your business, Inravio can get your message out there. And we can do it at a fraction of the cost. Call today and see the difference for yourself. This isn't TV. This isn't radio. This is Inravio.com. For over 60 years, Hanson Carpet has put the customer first, providing only the finest quality products and service. And Hanson Carpet is so much more than just carpet. We also carry a wide selection of window blinds and shades, and our licensed and insured technicians can service any of your flooring or window covering needs. Browse our huge selection of laminate, carpet, linoleum, vinyl, and tile. Stop by our showroom today or visit HansonCarpet.com. No matter what your project, Hanson Carpet has got you covered.
Hey, this is Chris Les Jake, and if Inravio.com spots you at an event wearing this bracelet, they will give you $100.
Welcome back. Welcome back. All right. Our marketing partner, Bethel Motor Speedway. We have results from Bethel Motor Speedway. I want to thank Tracy from Business Operations Manager for sending us this stuff. So here we go. In the modified division, Skip LaPolte held off John Coate to take home the win. Coate finished second with Blair Colhane coming in third, Joe D. Garcia coming in fourth, and Steve Galgano in the fifth spot. In the 358 Sportsman Division, it was Rick Mill taking the lead from Dan Dolian on lap 9 and never looked back and Kyle Redner finished second with Dan Dolan coming in third, Mike Duckter and Paul Martin rounding out the top 5. Alex McCullen took home the victory in his first trip to Bethel Motor Speedway this season. McCullen, who started in 6th, overtook Teddy Hodgkin with less than 10 laps remaining for that win, with Joe Graff claimed the 2nd spot while Joe Graff took home the 3rd. Joseph Graff, took home 3rd. Chris Rogers came in 4th, and Stephen Hershey was 5th. Hodgkin ended up in the 8th spot after spinning out with 4 laps to go. In the Bandolero division, Eugene Drew went wire to wire for his second Bandolero win of the season. In the battle for second, Tyler Dockenhausen and Sean Varais both brought out the caution flag and both had to restart from the rear. Mike Roth took home second, while Dockenhausen and Varais were unable to work their way back to third and fourth, respectively, with Jeff Dara finishing in the 5th spot. Ed Butler found victory lane in the Pro Stock division on Saturday. Finishing behind Butler was Jim Helt in second. Kenny Atkins, who recovered from a mechanical issue that forced him to the rear for the start of the race, claimed third, while Glenn Richard in fourth, with Darren Moon finishing in the 5th spot. The street stock race saw 4 different drivers grab the lead during the 20-lap race, with Kyle Welsh the eventual winner. Gary Van Orden finished in second, with Amber Van Orden finishing in the 3rd spot, while Walt Henry and Patty Falcena finished 4th and 5th, respectively. And finally, in the 4-cylinder advanced, it was a neck-and-neck battle between Brian Bauernfeind and defending division champ Mike Travis. The battle went for almost the entire race, with Bauernfeind claiming the victory over Travis. Cody Welsh got the 3rd spot after Vil Van Ecken was DQ'd for a post-race tech violation. And that's what went on at Bethel Motor Speedway this weekend. Thank you, Tracy. We appreciate all your efforts. And if you're ever up in that way, upstate New York, visit Bethel Motor Speedway. It's a nice place, family atmosphere, good racing, good people, and good fun. Been there many, many times. Looking forward to going back there this summer. Anyway, the Cup Series was at Pocono, dodging raindrops, as we talked earlier, as was the Xfinity Series. The Xfinity Series rain-shortened delay and was finished with Kyle Larson, the winner, Eric Jones, 2nd, Ty Dillon, 3rd, Kyle Busch, 4th, Joey Logano, 5th, with Elliott Sadler, 6th, Paul Menard was 7th, Brandon Jones, 8th, followed by Daniel Suarez in 9th, and Alex Bowman rounding out the top 10. As said earlier, the race was shortened due to the weather. The Sprint Cup Series lined up to race on Sunday, and that's all they did was line up as torrential rain came down and postponed the event to Monday. They ran this afternoon with Kurt Busch taking on the win, giving him a spot in the Chase Cup at the end of the season. Dale Earnhardt Jr. was 2nd. Brad Keselowski was 3rd. Chase Elliott 4th. Joey Logano was 5th, followed by Casey Kane in 6th. Matt Kenseth 7th. Carl Edwards 8th. Kevin Harvick 9th. And rounding out the top 10 was Ryan Blaney. So that's what happened in Pocono. I'll tell you what. That place, when it rains, it's insane. And I was there, I believe it was not last year, maybe the year before. And I'm sitting up in the Sprint suite, and all of a sudden you saw a black wall. And I mean, it looked like a curtain coming at you, way out in the mountains. And as it got closer, it got darker and darker, and the clouds started looking really ominous. And all of a sudden, the PA guy says, the race was flagged red, stop, boom, bring them down pit road, stop, get out of your cars. And they said, please, everybody leave the grandstands. Severe lightning is coming. So people are going, leaving, they go underneath and we're out to their cars. They even said, please, if you can, go out to your cars. And all of a sudden, I'm up in the suite, so I'm safe, we're good. And lightning bolts are hitting the grandstand. Lightning bolts are hitting the flagpoles. Lightning bolts are bouncing off the racetrack. People in the parking lot that were just standing in the water, like drinking their beers and talking, were struck by lightning. It was terrible. And that's the kind of rain you have up in the Pocono Valley area. When you have bad weather, it's bad weather. And NASCAR tried, and then they realized, look, it's not gonna shape up. And today was a beautiful day for racing. Although the stands were empty, but you know what? Those tickets are already paid for. They ran the race, so you can't go get a rain check. Oh, I can't come tomorrow. I want. No, you paid for those tickets. They're yours. Give them away, sell them on the corner, whatever you got to do. But they ran today, and when you see that, when NASCAR does that, logistically, it's a nightmare. Just with the teams and the officials, they all had flights to fly home either Sunday night or Monday morning. And now that has to get changed. So whoever books their travel is spending hours on the phone changing everything. And I can remember times when I was traveling NASCAR and you're stuck with a rain out and you're going to race tomorrow, or you got to go home and come back, the following week when you're not scheduled for that. And, you got to joke around everything because, as officials, we were working guys. We all had jobs during the week. And, all right, we're going to run Wednesday in Tennessee. Okay. So now you got to go there. It takes, fly there Tuesday, do your thing Wednesday, do your thing Thursday, and fly home Friday. A couple of times I tried driving to these events, but, think about that. People saying they're sitting in a TV or on their couch, they have their snacks all ready to drink, and it's rain down, and they're all upset. Okay, but you're home. Think about the people who are stuck there for another day or two. Think about those guys. And, when you look at social media, man, I never thought rain could affect so many people's lives in such a negative way. They're all upset about things. They're all upset, and it's Mother Nature, Nobody ever had a rainbow until they had the rain. Think about that. You got to have rain. So, unfortunately, this year it's raining on race day. What are you going to do? It's one of those things that it happens, and it happens. Speaking of social media, I was on social media. I'm not going to say which racetrack it was or which teams are involved, but it was some good hard racing from what I heard, saw, read, however. And a lot of people were blaming a guy, a team, for deliberately taking out somebody. Now, and I saw somebody wrote in social media this whole big dissertation. They said that no race car driver wakes up in the morning, gets his gear, loads his race car, goes to the racetrack, and drives out to the racetrack and says, I think I'm going to wreck somebody. I'm going to ruin somebody's day. That doesn't happen. And if you think for one moment a race car driver who's going, however fast on however size racetrack is going to say, let me take this guy out. That doesn't happen. And you don't have to be a physics major to know that two objects can't occupy the same space at the same time. It's impossible. So what happens is a hole opens up and you're driving and you're going 100 feet a second and a hole opens, sometimes 200 feet a second. And you see a little hole and you nudge your way into it. And the guy that you're racing side by side, he sees that same hole as you did and he's going to go into it, or she. And you hit, you touch, maybe a wheel bounces. One guy ends up in the wall, all destroyed. Now, of course, you just ruined his day. He's upset. His crew's upset. The car owner's upset. Everybody's upset. But don't blame the guy that you're racing hard with, because that guy was racing just as hard as you, except he wasn't in a wreck and he didn't wreck you on purpose. I don't think so. And now the powers to be are going to penalize that guy for hard racing. Would I have made the same call? Maybe, probably, I don't know. I wasn't there. You don't know what you're going to do until you're in that position. So now that guy's upset because, he just got penalized for an accident in his eyes and his crew's eyes and his fans' eyes and maybe some of the people in the middle. Wow, that was just good hard racing. So he's penalized. So what does he do? Because now he's upset that he got penalized. He's going to put on social media, I'll never be back there. Never is a long time. Maybe say, it'll be a while before I go back there. I'm not coming next week. Don't say never. Because the powers to be, the owners, the promoters, the officials, remember that stuff. And now, you're going to roll into their place, and you just trashed them on social media last week, 2 weeks, 3 weeks, whatever ago, and now you're going to show up. Think about what it's going to be for you like in tech. Anything that's is not going your way. Yeah, the white is going to go your way, the black is going to go their way, but the gray, you have a problem. And they're going to get that special ruler out and measure stuff. You never trash talk these racetracks on social media. Because if the owner or promoter or track manager or the head official isn't reading social media and looking at that, you're crazy, because they are. They are. Be careful what you say on social media. You got a good hard racing accident, you know what? You suck it up. Whether you're the guy that ended up in the fence or the guy that ended up penalized, you suck it up, you go back to your pit area, you do your thing. If you got penalized, oh well. Think of how many times you did do something unintentionally and you didn't get penalized. It's like you can go through the stop sign. The cop grabs you. You get a ticket. Don't be upset. Just take the ticket and shut up and go. Because you didn't get hit the last 17 times. You were lucky. Anyway, that's it on that. When we come back, we will be talking about Project Modified, the Long Island Invitational Fire Department Drill Team event that went on at the Lyndhurst Firemen's Memorial Park. And we'll have a little guest here for that last 15 minutes from the Long Island Need for Speed, Kevin Basic, to discuss the fire department events when we come back.
Village Music Shop of Mastic. 1-800-HEY-DUDE. Your full-service store with personalized attention, school band instrument rentals and sales, music instruction on all instruments for all styles and age groups, for guitars, drums, amplifiers, PA systems, and accessories. It's Village Music Shop, 1495 Montauk Highway in Mastic. Call 1-800-HEY-DUDE or go to villagemusicshop.com.
What's up, guys? We're Scano Fair, and we're here with Inravio. If they catch you at a show with one of these bracelets, you will win $100.
That's a lot of money.
So get a bracelet.
Do whatever it takes to get that. Hit them up online.
Hey, this is Christmas Jake, and if Inravio.com spots you at an event wearing this bracelet, they will give you $100.
Welcome back, everybody. As you can see, joining me on the set this evening is Long Island Need for Speed's Kevin Basic. Kevin, welcome.
How you doing?
All right. This past Saturday at the Firemen's Memorial Park in Lyndhurst, they had a fire department tournament, parade and drill, and I was lucky enough to be able to attend this event. And I want to thank the Babylon Village Fire Department for their hospitality, for feeding me throughout the early afternoon, and for making sure that I was not thirsty. My hats off to the chief and the officers of the Babylon Village, the fire department, and Scotty Glenn, an old friend of mine, and Dante Giovanello, and my brother Mike Larson, for making sure that my cup was never empty and there was always something in my hand to eat. So thank you. Kevin, fire department tournaments, big thing on Long Island.
Yeah.
Not as big as it used to be, but
No,
tell us a little bit about what goes on.
I was there
these days.
myself, but I was doing the back gate and security and stuff like that, so I really didn't get a chance to see the tournament, but I heard what was going on and all that stuff. And just see here is a tournament truck. That's the Westbury Turtle
That's
C
what
truck.
they call a C truck.
Yeah, it's a modified all cut down and stuff. That's what it used to be.
Now-
Well, that was custom built by Louis Labola out in Patchogue.
Now these things, some of these things are former NASCAR modified.
Right, right. Glenwood Landing has Freddie Harbach's old modified, which was a Troyer car, and they cut it down and made it into a C truck.
Now, the difference between a C truck and a big truck, and we'll have a picture of a B truck in a little bit. What differentiates, other than what it looks like, the B series races or events?
Oh,
to
the B truck is well over 6,000 pounds. Some used to be former pumpers, and they cut them all down, and that's what they call a Class B hose tender, a pumper. They have a pump inside the truck, but it still has a rat motor like you have in a monster truck and all that stuff. And still pretty fast. Like I said, it weighs 6,000 pounds, whereas C truck weighs as much as a modified 2,300 pounds.
Now, you know, this tournament, like I said, I was at, and I haven't been to a fire department motorized tournament in years. I've been to many old-fashioned tournaments
Right,
with
yeah.
the Babylon
Babylon has an
Village
old-fashioned
Fire
team.
Department.
That's right.
And the only difference between the motorized and the old-fashioned is the old-fashioned guys don't use trucks.
Use the cart.
They use a cart and leg power. And at this tournament, West Sayville took down the win. They were the champions of this event, with Central Islip coming in second, North Lindenhurst third, Islip fourth, and Copeg fifth. That again, that's a C rig.
That was built by Troyer. That was built by a friend of mine, Kenny, who worked for Troyer and runs that with the Spencerport Red Onions up by Rochester. And that's a Troyer car that Maynard helped build and all that stuff.
Now, for those who don't know what a fire department tournament is, that rack on the back, that silver appearing thing, a ladder goes on that, and that step in the back, that's silver. There's four guys?
4 guys hanging in the back of that thing doing about between 75 and 80 miles an hour at 300 feet.
Now, it stops, and they get off
Right.
with the ladder. The climber, the diggers dig
Right,
it into the ground.
they have to plant the ladder in the ground.
And
with the
while
spikes.
they're doing that, there's a guy climbing.
Right, it's all done within 12 seconds.
And he's got to touch the top rung, and that's how they
Right.
judge that.
Yep.
It's
That's 9 seconds too now. That's
Yeah.
North Belmore's truck.
and that's another C rig truck. And as you look at it, it looks like a modified. It really does.
I supposedly that came from some kind of drag racing shop.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. Maybe it was a funny car at one time or something. That was built by a guy that ran with North Belmore and stuff, and
Mm-hmm.
has a shop right now in West Babylon.
Now your team,
High Tunes built that. That was built by High Tunes.
Your team, you're part of the North Lindenhurst Piston Knockers.
Right.
Tell us a little bit about the history of the Piston Knockers that you know.
Well, they started around 1960. They got a B truck from Deer Park. They ran until about 65, 66, somewhere around there. They got a C truck. And then in 1981, they won their first state championship, believe it or not, at the Lebanon Valley Speedway. Like I said before, my team was looking for me, and I'm up on the thing watching the stock cars go around for buckets. I'm up there watching the stock car races.
Watching the racing.
Yeah, that was it. And they're 4-time New York State champions. Actually, 5-time. They had 4 in a row. That's me and my chief, Walter Slinger.
Yeah.
We're getting ready for a parade. You know, you have to parade in the morning. Actually, the parades are... There's only 3 parades a year now. That's it.
Yeah, it used to be a
Lindenhurst, the Suffolk County Parade, which is going to be out in Bay Shore this year, and the next one will be the state and the Town of Babylon parade. That's about all we have.
Now these parades, you know, and for those who are into parades, all the fire departments that come, they show all their equipment, they show it
Correct.
off, they pilot, they're judged.
Correct.
For
trophies,
appearance,
bands, and
the
all that.
bands, the marching in line, and
Right.
there's a lot of pride.
That's my team there.
There
That's the
you
way
go,
we
the
hold
Piston
the
Knockers.
equipment.
Now look at that. Now I want everybody to know that these rigs are not paid for with public funds.
No.
Am I correct? It's all donations,
fundraisers. You know, some guys like CI have their tournament, so that's how the hobos get their racing equipment. We have a golf outing, Christmas tree sales, stuff like that. That's what we do. We sell T-shirts, jackets, whatever you want to buy, memorabilia. At the tournaments, you can buy, you know, stuff that we wear, drill team shirts and all that. Like one of these, you can buy for like $25 and stuff like that.
Now, 22 Figure 8, the former Figure 8 driver here in Long Island, grew up going to the hobos tournaments when he was a kid.
Right.
And
Yep.
you know, they all have nicknames like the hobos. Where are some of these teams from and some of these nicknames?
Well, like Spencerport, the Red Onions, there's all like onion farms up there by Rochester. Point Pleasant, the pea pickers. There's all farms up there that made pea, you know, grew peas and what else? The Oceanside Eggnoggers. Every year they had an Eggnogger party, so that's how they got their name, the Eggnoggers. You know, that's how the names came about.
What, like the Copeg is the Yellow Jackets or something?
The Copeg Yellow Birds, because
Birds.
their first pumper was painted yellow, and they used to have an old-fashioned team called the Yellow Birds, so that's why their C truck and B truck are plain yellow, lime green color, like.
Yep,
Cause
yep.
it's now this is another truck. This truck is, I'm trying to think, what the heck, whose truck is it? A Farmingville Bandits truck.
Okay. And as you see the folks watching and look at these pictures, These guys, they're doing a water thing. Or
Right. Two
hydrant.
guys get off. One guy holds slack so the hydrant men can put the hose on. The other ones go down another, I'd say like 50 feet, and they break a hose, and the nozzle man has to put the nozzle on and squirt at a target. This is an engine blowing up. This was at the States 2004. That's East Islip Sea Truck. They blew the motor on the track. They were actually going in for hose, and the thing blew up, and they just went right on by. They didn't even bother stopping. This is one of the old sea trucks that ain't around no more. It's my dad's team, Manassas Lakeville.
Okay.
So that was built by Eddie Akins, A&P Automotive in Port Washington. I used to watch that truck being built. There's 3 of them. Actually, there's none of them running anymore. Syosset had one. Manassas Lakeville had one. St. James had one. And Syosset. Those are the trucks I seen them being built.
Now, the late Tom Baldwin, he was very involved.
Very involved. He ran with the Hagerman Gamblers back in the 60s. He was not really an active member, but he's still an honorary member of the Hagerman Fire Department. Like I said before, he built sea trucks for North Babylon, Syosset. I think that was about it, just those two.
Now, you know, there's a lot of racing people that are like NASCAR racing people involved with.
Yeah, I see them when I go different stock car tracks. I'm like, we're all still together here. We can't get rid of one another.
Right now, I know Joe Hartman, who ran in the NASCAR Wheel Modified Tour, is no longer racing. Right. His motor is in his fire department.
Right, Riverhead Ironman's truck.
Yeah.
Very true.
Now, you know, it's funny. Now, like I said, I went to one of these. I think the last time I went to a motorized tournament, it was in the late 60s, and maybe early 70s with my aunt and uncle. And I can remember it was an entire day. The parade was like 9 in the morning.
Right.
And there was so many teams. It was like late at night. It was still going on.
Right. I remember running a state tournament for 24 hours.
Yeah.
Rerunning the events and all that. This one went pretty quick Saturday because I guess a lot of teams aren't ready. They had 13 teams there, although the stands were still packed. A lot of teams I hear aren't ready yet. Some teams folded, stuff like that. But upstate New York, it's flourishing. It's getting bigger and bigger. They have actually more teams running up there than we have down here. Yeah, there's over 40 teams here on Long Island, but some guys just fold up and they don't get started again, and that's what happens.
I can remember as a kid, I could hear them practicing.
Right.
You know, the West Babylon team practicing.
Right.
You know, the North Babylon team practicing. I could hear them practicing.
Right.
And,
yeah,
that's
my team used to practice at Town Hall in Babylon over there. Yeah, here's an old-fashioned team.
This is the old-fashioned. It's Lake Power. You're running.
Right. That's
Everything's
Spencer
on a
Port.
cart.
That's Spencer Port Red Onions right there.
Now you got to be in shape to be an old-fashioned guy.
Yeah.
You know, because they got the like Bucket Brigade. They do the ladder stuff and they pull the ladder. And Bucket Brigade is, you know, they got to get so many things in the bucket to fill that tub and everything.
Yep.
It's just incredible. And I'll tell you what, you know, watching the people and saying they're sitting there with scorecards, keeping score.
Oh yeah, the best dig times and the freaking fastest sea truck and the quickest spikes in the ground. It's high tech. It's high tech for trophies. That's all we race for is trophies.
And that's all they race for, just the trophies.
For trophies and bragging rights.
Nice
that's
trophies
it.
too, man.
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah. Not like the old days. The old days, those things are like 8 foot tall and
nothing's
solid
like the old
marble.
days. Nothing's like the old days. Tell us a little bit about Project Modify. We only got a couple of minutes left. What's going on?
Well, right now I'm still doing all the body work and stuff like that. Hopefully that car will be on the track by July, middle of July. Yeah. So here I am standing here. I mean, there's like 60,000 coats of paint on here.
Yeah.
I mean, it was red, yellow. We you know, I finally found out what car it is. It's Tony Hirschman's Vecchio #1 car.
Okay.
So this is in Ducky's garage in his house. He's got a regular race shop there, and that's the way it looks right now because we're still trying to fit the Nerf bars on and all that. And like I said, the donations with the tires and all that, deeply appreciated. And like I said before, anybody got stuff they want to get rid of, just give me a call.
Who are some of the names, the guys that are helping out?
Jimmy Reed gave us tires. We've got United Exhaust made headers for us. What do you call, that's C truck and B truck, that's old stuff. What do you call also helped us out? Sal Licardi Jr. gave me some parts. You know, there's a lot of guys that helped out, and I appreciate what they do for us. And you know, still could use help if anybody wants to work during the day if they're not doing nothing.
Absolutely.
You know, Steve Maynard's doing the motor. That's going to be a very expensive motor. It's got like $5,000 in parts just to go vintage racing. But it's my love. I gave up drill team racing to do that.
To do this.
I used to do it with my brother and still do it. And like I said before, he just told me to bring the car down and start working on it. So I hooked up with Ducky, Ducky Miller. Everybody calls him Ducky. His real name is Mark Miller. And, he came, checked the car out, says, this is workable,
There you go.
So it's something I enjoy, and you're on board, and hopefully,
We'll have some fun with it.
we'll have some fun. Like I said, we're going to debut it out in Riverhead to shake it down, probably the first week of July. And then the 22nd, we're going to be up at the Waterford Speed Bowl at a star and near event. Then from there, it's off to Pennsylvania to run at the Mahoning Speedway, where the car originally ran with Tony Hirschman, with a lot of history on board with that car. Car won Pocono, won at Martinsville. The car won at Oswego. It's won all over the place. It's
Awesome.
Meanwhile, I'm thinking it's the original Troyer number 6 that Maynard had on his last hurrah, but it ain't. Well, we found out from Bob up there at Troyer, and he told us what it was, and that's the car it's going back to. So there might be a picture up there of the Vecchio number 1. I don't know if you still have it or whatever.
All right, we're going to wrap up. We're running out of time here. Kevin, I want to thank you for all you do for the 505 on
Right,
Racing Show,
right.
providing us with videos and footage. And
I enjoy doing it. That's
and
my passion.
taking care of the
video.
combinations and driving me to all these
Oh,
places.
yeah,
I want to thank
I
you.
missed you driving. I got Jack going with me,
There you go.
so it's still good.
All right, folks, I want to thank everybody for taking time out of your busy schedules to listen and talk racing with us and participate in the chat room, 22 Figure 8. Appreciate all your input tonight. And wherever your events are going to bring you this weekend, please be safe. Please be careful. Have a good time. Give somebody a hug. Tell them you love them. God bless you all, and we'll see you next week.
Inravio.com.